Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today it's time to look at how well did UFL players do in Week 10 of the 2025 NFL season. Well, pretty well this week. This is actually a really solid week overall. Even though we did have a bit of bad news from UFL to NFL players to John Parker Romo getting released, we ended up having, the guy in the thumbnail, Harrison Mevis, end up getting signed and elevated to be the Rams starting kicker, and let's just get right into his performance. He went 6 of 6 on extra points. Now, sadly, he didn't kick a single field goal, but this is a big deal. Cardi, I believe his other kicker was Joshua Cardi, was not that great, and they needed a replacement. And they got Mevis, who was great for the Stallions this past season, the Thiccer kicker, and he was perfect on extra points. This Rams team is insanely fun to watch. Matt Stafford, right now, is my MVP. I know I talked about it in the live stream I did recently, but I've probably got him at 1, then like Jonathan Taylor 2, and Drake May 3 right now. Stafford's just been incredible, and he had another great game, which was why Mevis had to kick six extra points, and he made all 6 of them. And as we've seen this season, especially within the last couple weeks, extra points aren't gimmies. Again, we're going to talk about another UFL kicker that missed one this week. Obviously, John Parker Romo essentially got cut because he missed an extra point. So really solid for a debut to go 6 of 6 in field goals, or just not field goals, but any type of kick. So big props to Harrison Mevis. Again, if he can be the starting kicker for a Rams team that is a legitimate Super Bowl contender, because I think right now it's pretty clear that it's them or the Seahawks is the best team in the NFC, then in a somewhat distant third is the Eagles, which is wild to say, but especially that Eagles-Packers game, it really showed that, number one, the Packers, like I said when the Micah trade happened, that team was going to be overrated as hell. They are. And it also showed that the Eagles are not as good as they were last year. Right now, it's the Rams or the Seahawks. So massive to see Mevis end up getting signed and play really well for them in his first game with them. Now we have the Ravens Vikings talk about Jalen Redmond again, because this is true. Like, it's not just glazing the UFL guys. I think everybody knows this one. Jalen Redmond is legitimately like the best player on the Vikings defense, and in terms of consistency, is probably the second or third most consistent player on the team overall. He just had his career high in total tackles at 8 for a defensive tackle, including 5 solos. Didn't get a sack. He's getting a bit caught up with, teammates and pressures. Like, teammates are catching up to him. But in terms of total tackles, having 8 of them, he was tied with 4 or 3 other guys for the most solo tackles on the team and was solo second for most tackles in general. He has been great for this Vikings team, and he is right now one of the best contracts in all of football, which that's not even a joke. He legitimately is one of the best contracts in football, as he is playing at a legitimate Pro Bowl, and not like Pro Bowls in how Pro Bowl nowadays is like, the 8th string guy gets it. This is like legit early 2000s type of Pro Bowl play. All Pro, that might be a bit stretching it, but he's playing as a legit Pro Bowler right now. Really love to see this from the former Renegade, so massive props to Redmond. Had they shot him out again. Now, Andre Schmidt. Now, Schmidt is one we've been on and off again talking about because it hasn't been fully consistent until the last few weeks. You got to give him his props. His first few games were somewhat rough, right? He, at this moment, is 12 of 15 in total field goals, which is not really that good. 3 misses out of 15 times is not great, and considering the fact that he's missed one of his 15 extra points is not good as well. Until you realize his last 5 games, he's been perfect, aside from the New England game where he missed 1 kick. So that was a bad one, though. Again, that was the Browns getting beat by the Patriots. But outside of that one hiccup, he's been perfect. He was 5 of 5 from the Vikings game up until the New England game and just went 2 of 2. And then he had been perfect in extra points and still is. His last 5 games, he only has the 1 miss, which is a really good thing to see. Because the fact that, remember, he took over Dustin Hopkins' job. And even though Hopkins did have a down year, he was somebody that had legitimately been a great kicker for a couple of years. And so for him taking over, he needed to be consistent, and he's now showing that again. He did have the miss against New England, but it was 1 missed field goal, and directly before that and now directly after that, he's been fine. So if he can keep this up, if he can get that accuracy up to about like 85% by the time the season ends, at least like 83%, he should be able to stick around for another year as their kicker. But overall, just thought I'd shout him out. This game was a wild one. It's one where I didn't watch it. Obviously, I was streaming the Panthers game when this one happened. But it's one that it seems like nobody won, but everybody lost. Like, the only people that won were the coaching staff of the Jets special teams, which is incredible. Like, Justin Fields played the worst game by a winning quarterback this season and one of it in recent memory. I mean, because if I'm not mistaken, he had like one screen pass that Brees took like 60 yards. And if you eliminate that one pass, he had like some absolutely abysmal stat line. Dylan Gabriel apparently looked like trash as well. It was one of those games where it was like wild that it was even close. But again, everybody looked bad, but Schmidt still did solid, so had to shout him out. Now, Jake Bates. Haven't really talked about him that much this year. Last year he ended up breaking those records for most points by a Lions kicker ever. This season, it hasn't been the same. Now, yes, one of his misses, of course, was that massive kick they tried to have him do. But overall, he is still, even if you eliminate that one kick, he's not insane. He's, again, 12 of 15, which is not a great stat line. He has missed an extra point, and that miss came in this game. Overall, this was still a good performance, though. He had 7 total kicks, and he made 6 of them, including a 48-yard long. This is a game that was not really close. The commies are just, they fell off so much from last year. Number 1, injuries. Number 2, age. Those are the 2 biggest contributing factors. People liked to forgot last year that heading into that season, everybody thought they were going to suck because they signed a bunch of old guys. They played really well, and then this year, they weren't playing as well, and then you had injuries. Lattimore obviously went down. Jaden Daniels, obviously. And even when he was healthy, it wasn't like his team was incredible. So, they've fallen off a cliff, but the Lions were able to kill him, and Bates had a solid game. Overall, though, comparing last season to this season, he's already missed more field goals this year than he did all of last year. Now, extra point-wise, he is still trending to do better. If he were to keep up his pace, he would finish with 60. If he were to pretty much match what he did last year in terms of extra points, granted, game difference, blah, blah, he would basically be like 1 extra point better than he was last year. So at least there's that, but overall, he just hasn't been feeling the same as last year in a lot of ways. Where last year it felt like this was a guy that could easily become a true top-tier kicker. And even though he still is a great and upper echelon kicker, the fact is I don't think anyone's going to put him in the same conversation with Aubrey or Boswell right now. I know Boswell had like that one miss and all that, but overall that's pretty much it. Still really solid from the former Panther. Now we have the Packers as the second to last one, and this is going to be, once again, talking about Harvishek as well as Daniel Wellen. Wellen is, again, he's third on the total average punts. He is, technically tied with Stout, and he has a worse net, but a lot of factors that come in the net average. That's the big issue. Net average is one of those where it's debatable, because, there's a lot of times where just the coverage just sucks for a team. Bottom line is, he is one of the 4 kickers with a 50-plus average, and he is... he had a lot of work in this game against the Eagles. Now, I believe through 4 punts, he was averaging just under 50 yards. He literally was, I think, averaging 49.75 because he had 199 punt yards. And his last punt was his weakest punt, which was still a solid 40-yard punt. He punted a great game, all things considered. The 2 touchbacks haven't hurt a bit, but he still had a really solid punting game. As for McManus, it's like a prophecy. What did I tell you guys a few weeks ago? I said that Brandon McManus, despite playing in Denver, the easiest place to kick field goals, was a historically bad distance kicker. He is what people say Nick Folk is. Somebody that cannot make the long kicks. What happened last night? Well, the Nick Sirianni legitimately tried to shoot himself in the head. I'm not even joking. Why the hell would you go for it on 4th and 6 in field goal range, or at least punt it when a field goal doesn't do you, when going for it does almost nothing? It was a 3-point game. You kick a field goal and make it, even with the whole Greg Olsen talking point, which is true about, you get the ball back at 35, you were at the 35 already. Enough said, Nick Sirianni has proven that you can, in fact, be a shit head coach and still win a Super Bowl. With that being said, because of his idiocracy, the Packers had a chance to win the game, or, send the game to overtime to then win it, with a 64-yard field goal. Now, it just so happens that they had a kicker on their roster who, just under a month ago, was able to kick and make a 61-yarder relatively easily. Would have been nice to have Lucas Harvishek kicking that ball, wouldn't it? Because McManus kicked it once, they gave him a free kick, and he was short. Then he did it again, it was the worst field goal attempt you'll ever see. It's literally like that one meme where I think it's a Mad meme, might be CFB, I think it's a Mad meme, where the kicker bar accuracy is aimed all the way over there. That's literally what that kick was. Would have been nice to have Harvishek. Yes, I know this is not as bad as Bates when he tried that record-breaking field goal, but this is another week in a row McManus has missed a kick. That's bad. The bottom line is he is not an NFL starting caliber kicker right now. He just isn't. He's living off a lot of name and all that, but even his name isn't the same as, guys in the past. Like, I think Matt Bryant was the Falcons kicker for a long time, obviously Vinatieri. Mason Crosby. He's not like that. This is a guy that was in Denver, couldn't kick long field goals, and they even showed his accuracy in clutch moments, and it was pitiful. The fact that the Packers are still holding on to him is a big question. He should be benched. I know that there's the question, is he still playing hurt, which if that's the case, it's even dumber because, again, Harvichek was playing great for you. Overall, though, Whalen, really great. The rest of the Packers special teams, really ass. They need to have, because I know it's a big talking point, the Packers special teams unit, like, outside of Whalen, has been really bad this year. So it's like the Lamborghini in the ghetto meme, right? Where you got, I think it's the Lamborghini in the ghetto. It's like that with this special teams unit. Now, you did have other nice part of your, house when you had Harvichek and you got rid of him for some reason. And so it's the Packers right now. This game was awful. Granted, it wasn't the worst primetime game this weekend. There was another 10-7 game that was somehow worse than this one. Well, I can't say that for sure. I was watching Raw for most of the part. And then finally, DeAndre Tillman. Not going to talk about it too much, but he had another great interception, a really solid return. Just a really solid moment. Again, the Thursday Night Football game was one of the worst things. It was a terrible game to watch. But Tillman had another interception. He's starting to pick up the pace. Again, we talked about it for like the first roughly 6-7-ish weeks. He was not really having that great a season compared to what we expected him to have. But he's gotten a couple interceptions now and is getting up there, doing some solid stuff now. But overall, that'll do it. This has been Zom Fox. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified when I upload any videos. Again, we're supposedly going to find out head coach info for the UFL by Thanksgiving. So make sure you subscribe, the bell, turn on for when that video comes out, whenever that is. And of course, still waiting on a lot of other news where teams move. In terms of some bigger news, I'm not going to make a video on it unless something else comes out, but it was officially stated that the UFL teams, the Panthers, Brahmas, and Showboats, are not going to be like finagled with when they move. There was a lot of speculation that they were going to do something really stupid and sort of like take apart the rosters. They basically said that all the rosters are going to stay the same, especially the ones moving, which is really good. Now we just got to hope they make the right decisions on moving the teams. So we'll wait and see about that. But as always, guys, have a great night.